Hey folks, welcome in. We are doing something a little bit different this week, and it's a new template moving forward. We'll do this alongside our normal build videos. We're going to do a weekly vendor reset video. And before you rush to the comments, I want to make one thing very clear. I am aware that Ruben Alamina puts together a collection of exactly this thing every single week. It is available on the Reddit thread. I think there's a link in the Discord, and they even have their very own website, which I will link to in the description here. This video is not meant to supplant nor replace what Ruben does every single week for as long as I can remember. This is meant as more of a supplement to that. I know personally when I go to the website, I am overwhelmed by the amount of information that they put together, which is full credit to them. But what I thought might be useful to the community is a video like this where I try and pare down some of those results to talk about what I specifically think is worth going to get each week. But obviously, if you want the full vendor list, please follow the link in the description to their website. If this video does nothing other than point you in that direction, I will consider it a positive because it is a great resource for any experienced or even new player who's looking to put together a build. So full credit to them for what they've been doing for as long as I can remember, since the Division 1 days. They do a great job. Again, not trying to replace that, just trying to supplement that a little bit and narrow the focus, and obviously color it with my opinions as to what I think the good pieces are each week, what is worth going to get, what isn't. And then the other thing that I'm going to do that's a little bit different than what they do is, if you go to the website, you'll see obviously they group things by weapons, armor, and mods. I want to do it a little bit different and group it by location. Obviously, you can go to the website and search by location, but this video specifically, I'm going to go around to each of the vendor locations. Feel free to follow along with me with your character, pause the video as necessary, move to new locations. But I just want to go through each location, talk about the items there, make a note of which ones I think are worth getting, and hopefully this is useful. If people don't like it, if no one watches, we'll probably let this die out. But if people like it, if you watch, please let us know in the comments. We'll keep doing these as long as you keep watching them. So with that out of the way, obviously on screen this entire time has been what I think is the big winner this week. That is the Force Multiplier backpack. As you can see down in the bottom there, it has a nearly maxed out skill damage attribute, which is a great addition to any skill build. Any build where you're going to put this piece on, you're going to want skill damage on there. So since that skill damage is already there and almost maxed out, you are free to reroll that second attribute of skill haste to anything your heart desires. I know personally I run with armor regen, but you can obviously go any direction you would like. And obviously it has the perfect combined arms talent on there, which is a great use of this backpack slot. Other than that, I don't have anything particularly of note. Obviously you have a maxed out damage to armor attribute there if you're looking for that for your SMG recalibration library, but otherwise most of these pieces are fairly forgettable. We'll run through them quickly here, but nothing in particular that I would go for. If you're looking for skill health for your turret, I guess you could go with this, but really the big winner is Force Multiplier, and we can go ahead and move on to the clan vendor. So here we are at the clan vendor. We have an Ekim's long stick, maxed out headshot damage, or nearly maxed out. Not bad. Perfect ranger talent, obviously. So you could grab this if you're looking for an Ekim's long stick. You could recalibrate that marksman rifle damage, make it a nearly maxed piece if you don't mind having reload speed in that secondary attribute slot, but it's nothing special. Second piece, I want to talk about this once and then I don't want to belabor the point, but my personal prerogative with gear sets that have a core attribute of a skill tier natively, I don't generally buy them because it's easy enough to farm for them, especially now that we have countdown. And on top of that, since it is a skill tier gear set, you're automatically going to have a very easy path to a perfect piece, because by its very nature, skill tiers are automatically maxed out, which leaves on a gear set only that secondary attribute that has to be re-rolled. So I'm going to just blow through skill tier gear set pieces whenever they show up on vendor lists. You can obviously grab them if you need them for a specific build, but otherwise I would highly recommend just farming for them very quickly another way. But with that mini tangent out of the way, I will get into two pieces that I think are worth picking up here You've got the Hotshot chest piece, nothing maxed out, but it does crucially have that secondary attribute of headshot damage already, so you could very easily recalibrate that core attribute to maximum, and then you would have a great piece to get yourself going with. And then secondarily, we have the tip of the spear gloves here with a maxed out core attribute, leaving you free to reroll that secondary attribute to absolutely anything your heart desires, and you will very quickly have a perfect piece for a tip of the spear build. Other than that, there's not anything of particular note. If you were looking for a Petrov defense group, you could go with these knee pads, and there are worse options, but other than that, nothing particularly helpful there unless you're in need of some skill haste. So here we are at the countdown vendor. There's 3 items, obviously, 2 of which I would recommend getting if you want them. The new reliable, not a bad gun. I've featured it in a weapon handling build before, but that third attribute isn't great and it might take a little time to optimize it. So unless you're looking for a new reliable, really the only 2 items I want to mention are the Anarchist Cookbook here. Obviously comes with Perfectly Wicked, and it has armor regen and headshot damage, both of which can be usable, but ultimately I would reroll that headshot damage probably to status effects, given that Anarchist Cookbook is more than likely going on a status effect build. And then the other item here is the Manic Assault Rifle. It's actually fairly rare. I have one in my stash, but I don't know when or where I got it. It was quite a while ago. So if you've been looking for a Manic, specifically if you're looking to maximize the proficiency on it, here it is, the countdown. It's only 75 credits. It's here and available. Obviously, it comes with the perfect overflowing talent. And with a piece that's this rare, I would probably just re-roll that secondary attribute to whatever you want it to be, and then optimize those core attributes over time. So here we are at the theater now. The named item is the Contractor's Gloves. They're not bad if you're looking to put together a headshot build with them, but otherwise I would do a hard pass. The item I want to talk about as we scroll through a couple there is the Habsburg Guard gloves here. This is particularly intriguing for me because I want to put together a headshot damage build that has Habsburg Guard with weapon cores on it. Since you already have a headshot damage and armor regen in those secondary attribute slots, you could re-roll that core attribute to weapon damage and get yourself well on your way there. So if you're looking for that, here it is. And then also of note is Bellstone Armory with maxed out skill haste if you need that for your knee pad recalibration library. All right, so here we are at the campus vendor. Off the top, you've got Picaro's holster. This is a great one to go get if you don't have it already. You've got a nearly maxed out core attribute that you can optimize in no time. And then obviously you have the secondary attribute there of status effects that you can reroll to anything you want, because obviously that 15% weapon damage is always maxed out. So if you don't have a Picaro's holster, go get it now before it's gone. Great to have in that inventory and put on a number of different builds. And then secondarily, what we have here, as I scroll through a couple items there, we've got the Sombra Mask here. This is one I wouldn't consider great, but okay and certainly serviceable. If you look there, you obviously have critical hit damage and armor regen already, so you could reroll that core attribute to max out your weapon damage. Again, not the best in the world, but given that most crit hit builds maximize your crit hit chance pretty quickly, having that secondary attribute of armor regen isn't the worst thing in the world. So this is more of a if you need it piece, it's here, not necessarily one I would recommend go getting just to go have it. But if you find yourself in the neighborhood picking up the Picaro's holster anyway, you can certainly stop here and grab this Sombra Mask if you need it. Other than that, nothing particularly of note. Got a couple of mods there if you need them. So here we are at the castle vendor. There's 2 things kind of to note. One would be the darkness if you do need one of those if you've never had one before. Critical hit chance isn't the worst attribute to have on a sniper, but primarily what I would recommend getting here if you need it is the Empress International. 6% skull damage feels like it's not a lot, but it's better than none. And you can obviously reroll that weapon handling to anything else and then optimize the skill damage from there. Similar to the Sombra Mask at the campus, this is one that if you need it, it's here. I wouldn't go wasting your money if you're just trying to collect pieces. But if you do need Empress International, you need the holster specifically for whatever reason, it's here with skill damage on it, so I did want to mention it.
Safe area detected.
Nothing is safe, Isaac. Nothing is safe. Hi, buddy. So here we are traveling over to New York. No named items at Haven, but it does have 2 things I want to note. One here is the SASG 12 shotgun. More of a if you're looking for it, which no one probably is, but it does have pumped up on it. So if you're looking for it, it's here. But really, the one piece I want to mention is the Hanayu mask here. Kind of similar to the Empress International at Castle. If you're looking for a Hanayu mask, this one does have skill damage on it, so you could reroll that secondary attribute to whatever you need. And maybe I'll say this because my own personal bias stopped me from buying these for a long time, but if you look there, it's 6.9%, which feels like it's not enough to buy. But really, since the maximum is 10, you're only missing out on about 3% of skill damage, which is way better than having to re-roll skill damage and just having a useless secondary attribute on your build. So if you're looking to put together a skill build and you need a Hanayu mask with skill damage, it is here at Haven. Take a trip back to New York and pick it up if you need it. And while we're in New York, we'll hit up my buddy Roy Benitez. Nothing of note this week, but I just want to scroll through the items so that everyone is aware of what is here. Nothing that I would personally recommend buying, but if you see something that tickles your fancy, this is where you get it. I think the most noteworthy there might be this 6.1% skill duration mod for your turret. But otherwise, it's back to DC we go. Alright, back from New York. Here we are at the DZ West. This is going to be the Dark Zone portion of this video. I'll run through these if there's anything notable, but obviously there is always the caveat to this section that if you're not a frequent Dark Zone player, those Dark Zone credits are going to be more valuable and harder to come by. So this is really only if you need a piece, it's a Dark Zone exclusive, you can't get it anywhere else, I would recommend grinding for those credits and then grabbing the item here. One item that does fit that description, in my opinion, is the Virginian here. That third attribute there is damage to target out of cover, which is honestly not a bad one to have on a rifle build. Pair it with Fox's Prayer and get quite a bit of damage to target out of cover. Or alternatively, you could reroll that third attribute and then optimize your way to maximum with both the rifle damage and the crit hit damage. Obviously, this comes with the perfect boomerang talent, which in my opinion is a significant improvement over the normal version of boomerang. So if you've been looking for a Virginian and you haven't gotten it yet, it's here at DZ West. Come and get it. Other than that, nothing in particular of note. I will run through them quickly, but a lot of skill pieces there. There's a Y'all Gear knee pads if you want those for whatever reason, but ultimately the Virginian would be the reason I would come to DZ West if you need it. So here we are at DZ South. Honestly, nothing too significant. I will mention the strategic alignment backpack if you need one. It is here. It's honestly not a great version, but you could make a case that explosive resistance could come in handy, especially if you pair it with the artillery turret. I know a lot of the times you're worried about self-harm from that, so the explosive resistance could come into play there, and then you could re-roll that secondary attribute to either skill damage or status effects, but I'm kind of spitballing here. This fits in with both the group of Sombra and the Empress. It's here if you've been searching one for a while, but I wouldn't specifically go to DZ South just to buy this piece. And then other than that, a bunch of not very notables, some more skill tier gear set pieces. I guess the other one to mention here is the Badger Tough backpack with Galvanize on it, built with the Scorpio shotgun, which does proc Galvanize with both the Confuse and Shock portions of the Septic Shock talent. So it actually is quite nice, and with weapon handling on there, it actually synergizes pretty well with a shotgun build. So if you're looking for that specifically, you could go get this, but this would be one for those DZ players that have a lot of credits to burn, not for those of us who credits come at a premium. And you've got Seska Varoba, nothing really of note there. I will make mention of the skill haste mod for your turret if you need one. It is here, but otherwise, strategic alignment and Badger Tough. Alright, here we are to finish up the Dark Zone portion at DZ East. We've got another Darkness here for purchase. Again, if you have Dark Zone credits to burn, you could grab this one. Damaged Armor is an okay third attribute, but ideally I'd spend my credits elsewhere. There's really nothing of note here. I'm just scrolling through so that everyone is aware of what is here. But ultimately, the other two Dark Zone locations had a bit more to offer. Last up, we will finish with Cassie Mendoza. For those of you who are unaware, Cassie is a secret vendor within the Division 2. If you want tips on how to locate her, you can go to the link provided in the video description, and near the bottom of the page there's a guide for the Snitch and Cassie. The basic premise is you need to go find the Snitch, Jared Nash, who's an NPC that randomly spawns at a number of locations on the map. You have to go find him first. He'll give you a bounty that you can either choose to do or not do, and he will also give you the location of Cassie Mendoza for the week. Once you go visit her, you can then go purchase specific items that she has, on top of which she also carries the 2 Hunter exclusive items. That's the Shield Splinterer and the Hunter Killer chest piece. If none of that makes sense to you, let me know in the comments and I'll provide an explanation video as a follow-up. But assuming everyone knows what I'm talking about, using the link provided in the video description, we're going to go through some of Cassie's offerings. This week is something of a lean week. There's nothing specifically I would go to Cassie for, with the exception of if you need a new Hunter Killer chest piece or Shield Splinterer rifle. Obviously those are available. Hunter Killer with 5.2% critical hit chance isn't bad. Other than that, she specifically has what looks like the exact same Anarchist cookbook backpack as the Countdown vendor. So personally, I would just go purchase that from the Countdown vendor as opposed to searching out Cassie, but you can do either one. Other than that, nothing particularly of note from my eye. So we'll circle back one more time to wrap it up. The main item for this week is the Force Multiplier backpack at the White House vendor. Nearly maxed out skill damage there, leaving you free to reroll that secondary attribute. Other than that, we have the Hotshot chest and the Tip of the Spear gloves at the White House clan vendor, Anarchist cookbook and Manic at the Countdown vendor. So with that, we're going to wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching. Obviously, this is a new format for us. Let us know if you like it, if you want us to make more. Obviously, let us know if we missed any items you think are noteworthy. We can add them in the comments, add them in the video description. Again, big shout out to Ruben and the rest of the people over there working on that website. Absolutely go visit it if you want a full breakdown of every item available weekly from the vendors. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.